Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stitching Tales. I am Johanna Lundström, the author of several sewing books, including Fit for Knits and Sewing Jeans, and I also have a sewing pattern line under the brand name The Last Stitch.
My name is Malena Hjerpe, and I work as a freelance pattern maker, and I also create my own PDF pattern under the name Hazelhen Patterns.
And this podcast is basically a mix of tips for sewing and pattern fitting, but we also like to talk about all the stuff that goes behind the scene, because we both run a small sewing business, and we try to do at least occasionally a little bit of an update of what's going on behind the scenes, because even though we move slowly, we still have a few things to share each time we do this kind of episode. And I know that a lot of you listeners also enjoy this kind of episodes. We also like to thank you, a big thank you to everyone who's reached out and said how much they appreciate the podcast, because that keeps us going for sure. And we got some really nice comments and messages on what type of podcast that we are doing, and we're very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's so fun to read. We read them all. Might be a little bit slow on responding to them, especially on DMs on Instagram, but I read them definitely, and you will get an answer. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I run the comments usually on YouTube, and I will admit that sometimes there's a delay there as well. But we do our best, and we're so grateful that you're taking the time and leaving comments and messages for us, for sure. So yeah, Malena, I don't remember when we last did an update. Probably was about a month ago when we talked about my shipping drama. Go back to that episode. That was scary stuff. And you, Malena, you also were working on a new project, right? So what's the status of that project?
Yeah, new old project. It's been going on for like 4 years now. The making. I'm actually wearing a bilberry top at the moment, so I'm getting there. You have proofread my English sewing instruction.
Yes.
And I have sent away because I do the sewing instructions in both Swedish and English, and I have sent the Swedish version to my mom, and I've got feedback on that, because she used to be a teacher, retired now, but how difficult could it be to write things in your own first language? Well, apparently it is. So I get notes. I haven't been able to update it yet, but I think that's what I have left. Then I'm ready for testing. So I'm a little bit like, ooh, can I do it? Can I update the Swedish instructions today, and maybe start the testing even now before Easter holiday? I mean, this is like this week, or should I wait after? But then I will also leave. We will go on a family vacation. Someone's like, when to fit in this testing and be so smart about it? Like, it would be so nice to be when I'm away on vacation. That's when the testing is happening. Because then things are happening even while I'm not here. But I mean, I want to be available, of course, during the testing period. And if anyone has any questions, or if the file is not working or whatever, I want to be, a little bit standby to be able to act on anything. So then it's not the best thing to be away during the test period. So I don't really know, but I feel a little bit sense of urgency at the moment, because I need to launch this pattern before summer. Like, that's I'm telling the universe it has to be done before the summer. So I feel a little bit like a deadline rush now.
Yeah, I totally get that, because now you're doing the testing period, and for how long do you plan to have the testing period? Where
I do want to have it over a little bit, like over a week, so it's like 2 weekends. Because I mean, if you can finish it everything in the first weekend, or if you can't do it one weekend, then you have the other one. So it's like 1.5 week. I'm thinking. I think that will be I've done that time before, and I think that's quite suitable, because then it is, I mean, it's not a long period, but it's not like super short either. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think when I used pattern testers, I did the same thing. I had a 2 weekend and a weekday in between. I thought that was reasonable. Of course, I guess it depends on the project. Mine were very simple and a quick sew that you could basically crank out in an evening, a couple of evenings or something like that. But yeah, it definitely makes sense to have ample time. And I guess then you're doing a little bit reverse mathematics, I guess. So do you have a dream launch date or a period where you would like to actually drop the pattern?
I would like to do it in May, just because then it's like before summer. Well, I mean, okay, I'm in the northern Sweden. That's before summer. Maybe summer has already started where you live, but we still have a little bit of snow here and there, and it's not warm at all. No, but just before everyone goes on like summer holidays, and launching in the middle of the summer, I think would be the worst period. So I want to, and it is a top, like a sleeveless top. It has very like dropped sleeve, so it's like basically a short sleeve. So it is more of a summer style, I think. It's still also, I think, very suitable like for the office, if you have a jacket on, a cardigan on or something. So it will be suitable in the fall as well. But I want to catch the summer sewist. I want to launch before that. So yeah, I'm a little bit like, should I rush this now so I can actually start it already during the Easter, because then I can be there if anyone needs anything, and fine if the second weekend for the testing I'm away, then I can have that communication still with all the testers that from this date I'm away, but I'm here before that. So yeah. But also it depends on when I get the chance to actually update the pattern or the sewing instructions. Yeah,
I mean, there's lots of moving parts going into it. I mean, now you are having the testing period and you might get feedback on the instructions and you might need to tweak those a little bit as well. So there's a lot of things going on, and especially also you have more files because you also have a Swedish version and an English version, and we all have these... the projector files and the copy shop files and the
but actually,
A4 letter files.
Yeah, I don't do that for the testers, sorry. I only do one pattern file in A4 letter size. And then after I get the feedback, then I start to create the copy shop file. I have two A4 or letter file sizes as well, like one with only seam allowance lines and one with both sewing line and seam allowance line. So it's like double there as well. And then also projector files, and then it's the B cup, the D cup. So it's like no, I'm not going to create all the pattern files already now before the testing, because then it's a nightmare to update all of those. Yeah,
I get that, but yeah. That's a very good point. That also gives a good insight into the fact that, you have to be nimble if you need to make an adjustment. So, committing to having to do double the work if you realize that you need to tweak something. And also the fact that even though, you're not doing that now, once the pattern is set and it's been tested, then you're going to need to do all this formatting. And that, I mean, once you get going, it takes time. But because you and I do it so seldomly, it's like a little bit like the brain has to start over every time. You're like, how did I do this anyways? So there is like, it takes a while to launch a pattern. Hats off to these people. I guess they have more resources than we do, but they have these pattern clubs and things like that they launch a pattern every month. And I'm not sure because I'm not a member of any of these clubs, but I guess that they also offer several different formats. So it's a whole thing, keeping that motor running.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like ignorance is a bliss, or like, how do you say? You forget what happens, kind of bliss is like, right, I mean, I know obviously I need to do those. I'm always like, right now, I feel like I'm like 1 hour to 3 hours away from the next step. But it's like, but there are like 5 steps still. But I'm like, I'm 3 hours away from launching. It's like, no, really. But this is what I keep telling myself. So I'm like, maybe able to launch it before the summer, because I really want to do that.
I honestly, I think you're gonna make it, because I know also when you once you get going, you're extremely quick and really good at executing. So I have no doubt in you, Malena. I know that you can make this, but I get it, because you always have to, I'm almost done, and then you realize that there are like so many small steps that we need to take before we can actually launch the pattern, and not to mention setting up the files and automation and getting the marketing going, because you can't
no, I did not even consider marketing at this point.
Unfortunately, you cannot drop a pattern into the ocean of other sewing patterns and hope that a lot of people is gonna find it.
Yeah, no, and I haven't taken any pictures yet of the. I have that whole project still. I'm actually going for the Easter now. I'm actually going to Finland to visit my family. So I am bringing the samples that I have sewed for myself, and I haven't asked, but I'm planning on that my sisters will help me take a couple of pictures, and then I have actually given 2 samples that I sewed a year ago. Like, this is how long I have been in this phase. I'm almost done. I sewed photo sample for my friend Malena, who is also named Malena. She will take pictures, and really good photographer and model. I'm just fingers crossed that they will fit her. So she is working on it as well. So I'm not the only one taking the photos. But yeah, this I'm only 3 hours away from launching. Sure, keep on dreaming. Maybe 3 hours for each specific step, but I'm not I'm not looking at all the different steps right now. I'm in the I need to get this done phase.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way of approaching it as well, because if you start to think about all the things, you're going to be so overwhelmed and super stressed. So it's just you need to do every bite-sized chunks when you're doing like a big project like that. I mean, there's no other way of dealing with it. I think it's mentally, it's so many things that goes into. Because we talked about as well, I mean, if you're launching a pattern today, you can't really cut any corners. I mean, you have to do really well executed instructions with illustrations, and I've seen your instructions, and I've also proofread the British English ones, and you've done a really fantastic job with the illustrations as well, and they're very, very clear, and that also entails a lot of work, just doing that part of the instructions to make sure that everything is, up to date, and getting all the numbers, the measurements of the garment and everything like that into tables. So there's so much stuff going on. So there's no wonder that we don't release that many patterns. I wonder why.
Yeah, and I mean, I have obviously, you understand this, listeners. I have not been working with this constantly for 4 years.
No.
I mean, we wrote a book during this time
exactly.
as well.
And also
all these other side-tracked projects sidetracking me is So you're always. Your own projects always get the last priority in your to-do list. So, shoemaker's kid has broken shoes, or what do they say?
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, over this time, I mean, you have worked full-time, and you've been a student full-time. So it's not like you have idle hands and all the time.
No, I'm not that slow,
I mean, it's more. I think it's the most impressive thing is that you actually kept the fire going for this particular pattern for this long. Because I definitely think that it could be tempting to just give it up and move on to a new shiny object instead of launching the ones you already have. Because as we talked about previously, you have to be kind of in love with your thing, because you have to put so much effort into it without much monetary gains most of the time. So I'm very, very happy, because I've seen and I known you for all this time, and we have talked about this pattern for. So it's so nice. That's why I'm so thrilled to actually. I mean, if you're watching the video version, which you can do on a YouTube channel, Stitching Tales Pod, Malena is, as she mentioned, wearing a sample of this super, super pretty blouse. It looks like woven blouse, but it's actually made out of knit fabric, so a really ingenious construction of the collar, and with like nice seams and a yoke. So I'm so excited for you to finally be able to share it with the world. So yeah, fingers crossed that
Thank
you can make this before May.
I'm not a person who relies so much on feedback from like lift me up, so I need to keep like I can keep on going. But like, thank you. Yes, I do need it at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at this stage in a marathon. Like, I'm seeing the finish line, but I'm like, I'm a little bit sick and tired of it now. I just want to finish it and launch it and get it out there, basically.
Yeah. We're all cheering you on. We have several hundreds of listeners as well every week that are cheering you on, Malena. So you're not alone in this, even though it might feel a little bit like an uphill journey. This kind of final steps
push.
before. Yeah,
definitely. But how is it going for you? You have less time, unfortunately, now.
Yeah. If loyal listeners might be familiar with, I've been having a pause from my day job. I work part-time, which is 50%, as a communication officer, as it's called. I work in communication for a municipal, I think, city council, basically. And I have been working full-time on the last stitch for 6 months, which has been amazing. Which is one of the things that allowed me to launch my video sewing course about sewing jeans, denim mastery, and also to get started on working on our next book project. And just, but most of all, I would say being able to have like a decent balance, and I'm putting quotation mark here, but between work life and free time, because that has been a constant struggle for me since I started, really putting a lot of effort into my sewing business, which is it's almost 10 years ago. So it's been a long time, and I've been struggling with a lot of stress and some anxiety due to that. So I think I've never felt this good that I've been feeling the last 6 months. I mean, I worked a lot, but I've never felt overwhelmed, and like my mental health has just been so much better. But of course, we also need money, and I'm still not able to take a full-time salary from my sewing company, despite working on this all these years. I can take a part-time salary, so I don't need to work full-time anymore, which is a blessing. But yeah, last week I went back to my day job, and that means, doing a commute in the mornings and being in an office space with lots of people. And I will say, I will probably get more tired again. And that kind of base problem is not really solved. I mean, my job is great and I have really lovely colleagues and everything like that. But honestly, I will say this, that it's going to be a struggle. Yeah, it's going to be. The problem isn't solved, the fact that I have to do this. It's back to the same thing. But obviously, I need the money. So who am I to... I don't have the luxury of just saying, all right, I want to quit my day job. So I have to just figure out a way of dealing with this for as long as I have to.
Yeah. And since you work in communication, I mean, in today's world, today's economy, it's not like those jobs exist like everywhere, and there are like a lot of different opportunities. So, I mean, I understand that you want to hold on to this job that you have. So quitting, like resigning, it's not... Somebody else will take it, and maybe if you feel the need to actually get a part-time job in the future, that might be gone then. So I totally understand that you want to hold on to this tightly.
Yeah, definitely, exactly that way. And then, we are in a semi-recession that perhaps are going into deeper recession, and a lot of people in my field are having problems now finding new jobs as well. And obviously, part-time jobs is very rare. I mean, most are full-time, and I'm not really prepared to do that again. So for me, I think the only viable option would be to do freelance work part-time and then doing this part-time. I'm also seriously considering becoming a tram driver because we have trams in Gothenburg where I live. And I was thinking maybe that would be a great option, just having a job, because I think the challenge for me is that my day job is pretty demanding as well. And I think having to do all this task switching and be so alert and creative and driven in both these fields is, I find as each is just getting more and more difficult. So I've been thinking maybe I should do my base income job should be something a bit more simple, and then I could have more brain capacity to give the last stitch. So that's been one of my alternative career options that I've been pondering now as I'm going back to this thing of having a day job as well.
Yeah, no, but I totally understand that. And me and my freelance colleagues, mostly designers, I would say that that I meet in my work as a freelance pattern maker, that they say that coming in and working for a company, they all have their own brands, their own passion projects. But coming in and working freelance work for another company, it's so easy, using quotations mark, like obviously it's a demanding job, but it is very clear what to do. You have a task and you finish it. You check it off and you take the next task. It's very clear. You don't have to think that much about it. It's just doing. Because then when you have your own job, it's like, should I go this direction or that direction, or what will be more, how should I structure my own work, and like which path should I continue on, what with strategies, and it's like so overwhelming when you don't know exactly what to do and which is the right way to do it. So yeah, when you do freelance work for somebody else, then it's like, okay, here is your to-do list, great, now I'm just gonna tick things off and work, and yeah, you don't have to, it's not so much mental work in that sense. So I totally understand that if you have 2 jobs, then that you need to have like full capacity brain work. Yeah, 1 job would be nice to just do, not think.
Exactly like that. So my dream job, I guess, apart from being a tram driver, that would be either, to get maybe I would write articles for some kind of website, okay, you're going to write 1 article a day and this is going to be the topic. You don't have to...
I love that that's your easy job. That would be my most exhausting job ever.
I know it sounds weird, but that's kind of automated for me. I find more struggling because now in my job position I also have, there's a certain amount of leadership and, development. It's just not... It's not very cut and dry. I mean, it's a mix of like producing, but it's also a lot of strategy and a lot of meeting and, developing
figuring out
and
how to do it.
And, moving forward to the institution I'm working for and, be progressive. So it's exactly that. And the other thing, my absolute dream job would be to do design, to do book design for other people. I mean, I'm doing this for my own books and I think I'm very good at it, I will say.
Yes.
No more jantelagen today, because Swedish and Norwegian will understand, Scandinavian people will understand that reference, a tall poppy syndrome. I think I'm very good at book design. And so it would be nice actually to just have, okay, I would work with a publishing company and they would just give me projects and then I could just crank that out, because again, it's kind of repetitive, it's creative, but it's also very formatted and templated. So that could also be an option. So I have lots of things going on in my mind. Nothing has materialized so far, but we're going to do more updates. Who knows where I will be? Maybe on a tram next year. Who knows? Maybe I'm still at my day job, probably.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of dreaming. I mean, I don't know if this is true. Guys have the fantasy football team that they are playing in their head with. Like, this is the kind of thing that I also have, like a little bit my kind of fantasy football, like future business ideas and what to do and how to do and play it out, or what other people should do for their business ideas. That is so easy to, figure out what everyone else should be doing. But what to do for yourself, that's, trickier. But, I understand your struggle. I totally... On a side note, I was last week, I was 2 days on a solo entrepreneur women conference. Inspiring and so, and to just have this community of women, and we're like, we're all in the same boat. We all are solo entrepreneurs, how to figure things out, how to sell without being salesy, yeah,
salesy, maybe
yeah.
salesy, yeah.
So it's so nice to have other people to find your community and to vent these kind of things with, because we might not have the same issues, businesses, whatever, but yeah, same problems for more or less everyone, I would say. So it's really find your community. That's a good thing. Find your support system.
Very much. And what you mentioned there, I was really envious because it seemed like such a fantastic program. Could you tell us a little bit about it? Because it was a very high profile, like creators and influencers and small business owners it was quite locally in the north of Sweden, I think.
Yeah, it took place in Örnsköldsvik, which is northern Sweden, or like middle part northern Sweden. It was arranged by Linda Hörnfeldt. She is talking a lot about social branding and how women entrepreneurs should work with branding themselves and talking about their brand. So she and had arranged this, and there were one day when there were a lot of people, other solo entrepreneurs were talking about the different topics. They had panel discussions, and the second day it was a little bit just a half day, so it was a little bit more workshop on your social brand, how to work with that, and also working with ChatGPT and AI and how to use that in a smart and efficient way. And I would say like the name that sold me, and I was like, as soon as the tickets came up, I was like, book everything. It was Underbara Clara, which is a really huge blogger here in Sweden, also lives in northern Sweden, and talks a lot about, she has treated her blog more of a media house, like a magazine house, and it's amazing how long she has been working with this, and beautiful blog, beautiful pictures, and has had have still podcasts, and no, it's really interesting to see how she is working. And the second one was also Jonna Jinton. I haven't followed her so much, so I'm not but I mean, I know of her name. She has a huge international following, and she just have this mysterious videos, pictures of Swedish nature, which is very close to us. So it's like, that's just not everyday thing. She takes beautiful pictures, but it's like, that's what it is here up in the north and Sweden. So it's, for me, it's not exotic, but I mean, obviously for people living elsewhere, it's very much more exotic. So she was so interesting to hear also her journey and how she has been working, and it was very inspiring people. And then of course a lot of other speakers as well, but it was these two, so like, I want to hear I want to hear what they have to say. So it was really 2 fun days, and just to meet up and chat with other people from the audience, other solo entrepreneurs. It was just so nice. And also being a freelancer, to be able to have this flexibility I was supposed to work regular hours these days, but talked to my boss and I was like, can I shift these days around and work here and there instead? And I was like, I mean, you're your own boss basically, like you can choose when and where you work your hours. So perfect, now I'm gonna take advantage of being my own boss basically, and go on this event. So it's fun. Now it's like, I have a million ideas, I want to do so many things. Where to start? Well, back to the freelance work.
Because you do get it when you do this kind of events, and it's so important, as you mentioned. We need to water our plants, because I mean, we are both very much self-motivating people, and we have good work ethic. But sometimes what is lacking is that feeling of being in love and inspiration. So you can sometimes get caught a little bit in the grind work, and sometimes just to keep going, we need to get into a space where we meet other people in similar situations and come home with new inspiration and new ideas, because that's kind of what keeps the fire going. And so sometimes it's easy to forget because you feel like you always have to spend all the time producing stuff and not to remember to like water your creative plants. And I guess that what was happened to you last week when you came into that environment with these other creatives. So did you what kind of emotions or ideas or feelings did you come home with when you came back last week?
No, but I do want to, when you look financially on my business, if I would have a financial advisor who would look over my business, they would say that, why are you doing your own patterns? There's no economy for you there. Why are you spending time on this? Focus on freelance work. That's where the money is. But for my soul, for my own, like this is something that I do want to work with. It's something, passion project of mine. And hearing other people talk about their passions and how they have worked with it, and how long time also it has taken before it really took off. It was really inspired. Like, no, just keep on doing it. Like that's the goal. That's where I want to go. We'll see if I get there or how the road will be. But it is. Yeah, no, it's really something that I want to continue with working with. So it was so interesting to hear that it's not always an overnight success. No. Even though, I mean, for Jonna Jinton, for example, when she went viral and it's really like, her YouTube channel got really huge. That was overnight, but all the work she has put in before that, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of time. So nobody. It's not overnight. It's an overnight success that has been years and years in working process. So it's good to get that reality check. Like, everything is not happening so quickly as it looks from the other side.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very good point. And I think both Jonna Jinton, we're definitely going to link to a YouTube channel since she has a huge international following, and Underbara Clara Lundström. Both these started out relatively poor, I would say. And I've listened to an interview with Jonna Jinton before she had her big break, and she basically moved from large city into hardly a running water cabin and had to do like extra work, probably, in healthcare or something like that. And Clara as well was like a low paid, working at a magazine. So they were not like rolling in money for a lot of years. But then it seems like when they reached that tipping point, then it started to be like this flywheel where everything is kind of like magnified and the growth is exponential, which is kind of fascinating to see. But there's always at least 5 years when they just worked in the shadows, basically, before they had their big break. So it's very, very common to hear these kind of stories that that there's a lot of work and a lot of financial insecurities, and both these took big risks, of course. And that we should say we have had the survivor bias, of course, because we know there are probably lots of people that took huge financial risk, and we have no idea who these people are because they didn't reach that tipping point. But I think it's a very good reminder about the tenacity, and a lot of these original bloggers here in Sweden that are successful today, they are basically around 20 years now, 2 decades they have been posting, because blogging is still quite big in Sweden. It's interesting to see. There's a big still a big hunger for the written and like longer text forms and beautiful pictures. So we have several bloggers that are basically, of course, with help sponsorships and ads, are able to maintain a full-time career as like they are one person magazine almost, in a way. But these and several of these have now been going for almost 2 decades, which is that gives some perspective on for how long. And they definitely weren't well paid the first few years. They were definitely struggling and having to rely on other incomes.
Yeah, and that's if you are building a brand, like it is so important to think on which platform should you be, because I mean now I don't know what happened to TikTok in USA. It went away for a day, half a day, basically.
I think,
then
yeah.
it came back, and it's like, what is? I don't know if they have like. So what's the final verdict? What is gonna happen? And I mean, with Instagram, with algorithms and everything, you own a blog. Like you own that. Nobody can take that away from you. You have that text there, the format there. Sure, how to get people onto your blog, that's a different question. But at least you own it. So I think every brand should have one platform that they own, either if it is a mailing list or a blog or website, whatever, but something that you own, so you can control it in a better way. Because otherwise, what if you have built your whole business on TikTok and then all of a sudden, that platform is removed, or it doesn't become valid anymore? Like the next TikTok is the new thing, so everybody leaves TikTok or Instagram, whatever. So yeah, you need to be smart there, where to place all your egg, not just in one basket, but like spread it out a little bit, and make sure you own your where you have your most eggs in.
I agree with you. It's very, very true, and it's important to remember that when you're running a business, and we keep talking about that, you cannot. I mean, in the sewing pattern business, for instance, you cannot. I know Instagram has been a very popular platform to build your brand, and it's certainly effective. But we have all heard stories about people not having the same kind of reach anymore, and maybe they launch a new pattern and they don't get the same kind of traction. Probably, because it's not that easy. There are more people on the platform as terms of producing content, and sometimes the algorithm works in your favor and sometimes it doesn't, and it can be but maybe you relied on organic content reaching out. So maybe you thought, okay, I'm just going to post my new pattern on Instagram, maybe do a reel, but that is usually not enough to generate traction, as we talk about. And my experience is that I have a pretty big email list, and that's the number one way for me to produce more sales over time. Instagram, sure. YouTube, sure. But it's so much lower in terms of actual revenue that I can gain from these external platforms, because I'm always in the hands of the platform and the followers to actually see my content, and there's no guarantee for that whatsoever. I mean, I could be pretty much invisible. Who knows?
Yeah, it's scary. And we talk a lot about, I think, it's like the backlash of these fast reels, TikToks. Everything should be like, you need to have a hook, like you can catch the listeners, viewers in like 1 to 3 seconds, then like that's the attention span, and otherwise they will swipe away. Long format content, what do you say? For example, this pod, it's so amazing to just like be able to talk and explain your thoughts, and hopefully it makes sense. I don't know, sometimes
we try.
But yeah, or if you have YouTube or blog, like where you can really elaborate things and really like get your point of view across, hopefully. So yeah, I do think like long format content is a way to go. Of course, with Instagram as well, to be able to be social with others. But yeah, it's tricky, and then you should do your work as well.
Yeah, you're always. I mean, I think the biggest challenge for us as small businesses is that you tend to run yourself thin, because you have to work on the big projects, like launching a new pattern or a new book or a new sewing course. And then you also have to be like active, producing content for the various channels in the various format, depending on which format is trending or is the most algorithm friendly. So, I mean, I'm definitely one of those people that kind of gravitate towards the kind of long form content, because that's where I feel more comfortable. I mean, I love having this pod, and I also really enjoy doing YouTube videos, even though I don't have the capacity of doing a lot of that right now. And of course, doing new books and patterns. But I mean, you still have to be engaging on all these platforms. So I mean, hats off to anyone that is actually being able to do this on their own or with very limited resources. I mean, it's a struggle. I mean, we hear you if you're running any type of business and feel that you are not able to execute on every platform. We are in the same boat for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And just again, business ideas now. My fantasy football gear kicks in, and it's like, yeah, you could sell a course. The next course could actually be how to work with the email list. Have your own mailing list. Like that. That's a solid business course that you could have, not just for soloists, but that could be relevant for everyone, basically.
Yeah, you're very right, and I've thought about that too. I mean, obviously, because I do have a lot of like business and comes from a communication background, for sure. I thought about that, running courses on running a business as well, and as we talked about, book design and book publishing, and I'm sure it's more profitable. It's just that again, I would spread myself too thin. But if I could treat that as my day job, I guess. We'll see. I mean, I'd love to have, and if you have any ideas for me and Malena on where we should take our brands or ideas for future avenues that we haven't really looked into, we'd love to know, because sometimes it's hard to get that outside perspective on your business when you're in the middle of it and doing the day-to-day stuff. So yeah.
What are you going to focus on now when you only have 50%-ish time? What are your focusing on?
Well, I have basically two focuses, and the one thing is that I marketing, because that's my constant struggle. I've been really good now at doing sending out emails pretty much every week with helpful content and also promotions, and I can definitely see a correlation between sales and the amount of emails I'm putting out, for sure. And last week there was also we ran a sale on our Fit for Knits book on Amazon US, and that turned out really well as well. And again, I put so much marketing effort that, and it shows, because if there would just been like a reduction of the price without any marketing effort, it wouldn't really have moved any more books, because you have to tell people that the book is there and there's a discount. So that really goes to show, and I will keep on focusing mostly on my email list. I would love to do more Instagram and YouTube again, but I feel like right now the email list is the one that gives me the biggest bucks for least effort. In terms of, I put a lot of effort into my email, but it's so nice also to see that the return is so immediate. Whereas if I do Instagram, for instance, and do Reels, it's much more effective for building a brand rather than doing sales. And right now I need to increase my revenue if I'm ever gonna. I think I would, in order to be able to do this full time, I will need to increase my yearly revenue with about 35%. And that might not sound like a lot, but that's massive, because it's not like I grow like 10, 20. Sometimes I have years where I make bigger revenue and then I have lower revenue. And some products I launch, they sell really well, and some products that I launch do not sell that well, and it's super hard to figure that out before you do the launch. So being able to increase my revenue with 35% is going to take years and years and years and years, even though I step up my marketing. But that's my long-term goal, is to make sure that I do a better job with the marketing, because I do feel I still have not turned every stone there, and I feel like I should be able to shift more, especially sewing patterns, but I also think some of the sewing books and courses also could reach a larger audience. So that's my like marketing goal. And I'm also happy to report now that I'm started to work on our next book as well, because we have talked about that in a previous episode. You can go back and check that out. The working title is To a T, so we're going to do a sewing pattern book with full-size paper patterns included in the back of the book. So now I'm starting to work on the sewing instructions, because it's going to be super detailed instructions for every step. So you won't just get like really great classic knit top styles. You will also get really, really good instructions. So you will have a much easier way of sewing these than you might have previously. So we're definitely going to, it's a whole package, the best patterns and the best instructions, right, Malena?
Yeah, because I feel I mean, I've borrowed a lot of pattern books now, just to do research and like see how are other people doing, and yeah, the sewing instructions, I mean, most of them are great, but you feel that they are compromised because you can't fit that much into a book. There are limitations. So here we want to go deep on the sewing instructions and show like different types of different ways of working as well, like showing different types of shoulder reinforcement and explain like what's best when, and like really go deep into focusing on t-shirts. And this is also why we have limited ourselves to t-shirts, because then we can really go deep into it. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun project. I mean, it's funny how like I never thought t-shirts would be my like, this is my passion garment. Like, no, but t-shirts, they are like, and I don't remember when it was, but it was like somebody's talking about design in the future, and I was like, yeah, but how many new t-shirts do we need? I was like, excuse me, how many absolute perfect t-shirts do you got in your wardrobe? There's still room for improvement for t-shirts, even though it's like the most simple style basic garment ever, but it's like, no, but that's the staple of the wardrobe, like that's the best garment ever. So I definitely have a passion for t-shirts, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Now you're doing a whole book about it, this particular topic. And yeah, we can definitely, no problem filling a book about it. And as we mentioned previously, it's basically 4 different base patterns for the traditional styles: a regular t-shirt, a tight-fitting t-shirt, oversized t-shirt, and a raglan t-shirt. And we say t-shirt now, of course, basically a knit top, I guess it's more correct.
Yeah, long sleeve, short sleeve.
Yeah. It's a thing, and as Malena says, we're doing very detailed instruction for all type of neckline finishes, which I'm working on right now. I'm today working on how to sew V-neck on knit tops. So that's really fun, and I felt I love this kind of deep work. That's where I feel the most satisfied, and I can definitely sometimes hide behind it, because I love doing like illustrations so much. And then I forget that I should also market what I do. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. And also this morning I was browsing through some online stores, and I was thinking because I have I'm slowly building a capsule wardrobe with my sewing patterns. So I have now a knit top, the girly top. I have a cardigan jacket, the Evie cardigan, and I also have knit pants, the Vide pants. So my next thing would be to do a dress in knits with pockets. So I was like, cause it's always nice to think about stuff you don't have time to do. Because I was thinking, so I was kind of dreaming myself with the construction of that this morning when I was lying in bed.
That's the best inspiration. Work on something else and you get inspired to do your next project. Do you have like a design vision already, or?
Yeah, I do. So it's also fun because we deal with sewing. It's also fun to not just do like a straight up thing. It's think about how can we add like clever details and make the construction easy but still interesting. So and the fit, how should it be fitted or more oversized? What's like feels right for both my brand and the current like environment. So and what type of materials. So yeah, these are the kind of thoughts, and I love this because it kind of just brews in the back of my mind, and eventually, probably in 6 months or a year, I will have a finished idea of what that dress will be like, and then it's time to get going and start working on it. So I probably will not be able to release a sewing pattern this year because I'm putting so much focus on the book, but hopefully next year at least I will be able to launch another pattern, because I love that process. I love also, the thought about slowly building wardrobe with my sewing pattern, so that if you like my styles, you'll be able to add more and more pieces to your wardrobe using my patterns. And I think I will keep on doing mostly knits for the foreseeable future, just because it kind of fits with the brand and where my interests are.
Yeah, that sounds so smart. Yeah, and circling back to a tea book, if any listeners, viewers, have any suggestions, what sewing instructions, techniques, what do you want us to include in this book? What do you think is not served already at the moment, like sewing instructions wise? What do you want to learn more? We're also thinking about adding like hacks and like how you can sew your own details. So it's not just simple tea, you can elevate your style, and we're going to talk about how to do that and how to sew that. So if you have any questions like you want us to write about, just leave us a comment, and it might be included in the book.
Yeah,
now is your chance.
Great. Yeah, right. Do it now before we get too deep into the work.
Exactly.
So you can of course either drop us a comment on our YouTube channel, Stitching Tales Pod, or over at our Instagram account, Stitching Tales Pod, or you can email at stitchingtalespod@gmail.com. And of course, all these contact avenues are available in the show notes of this episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear if anyone has any suggestions.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this update on what's been going on in our business lives and work lives, and we're looking forward to talk to you soon. So my name is Johanna Lundström.
And my name is Malena Hjerpe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.